good stuff.
Last year, local muso William Crighton was my most listened to artist on Spotify, so obviously it's always an absolute pleasure to get to sit down and chat with him. Today, we're bringing you a chat that we had on site at Dashville Skyline over the weekend. So, I want to start off because we're obviously here in this gorgeous bush. How did you first come across Dashville, and what does it mean to you now, like the community that's here and supports you?
Well, Jules and I and the kids moved up from Burrinjuck. We were living down there when we wrote most of those songs for the first album, and we were kind of kicking around. And Jules' family is from up here, so we come up here, and we heard about Dashville because we had played at Gumball in a duo band that Jules and I were in. Yeah. But we didn't really, it was like a flying visit, we just come in, left, knew it was a cool spot, didn't even meet Magpie that day.
No way.
Or Jess. And then just when I was living in Burrinjuck, Magpie and Jess were going around America, and they were going through Nashville, and we were just yarning for some reason. I said, I'll call in and see my mate Matt Sherrard, and they did, and they struck up a friendship and sort of started yarning that way. And then when we moved up here, we just come out and started working a little bit with Magpie, like a bit of gardening, a bit of knot tying, and and just automatically felt at home, and he's got a lovely family here, Dash and Colleen and Dan, and all the everybody, it's a good spot, and so to play music here is special. It just feels like special ground,
Yeah.
With the trees. But we played the very first Dashville Skyline. We helped build the stage and whatnot, and Magpie was sort of fleshing out some ideas, and it was really good getting to know him through that process, and so he put us on to give us our first real break, so to speak, letting us play on the Friday night last on the very first Dashville Skyline. And
had you headlined before? Anything else?
No, hardly ever played those songs live before to people.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so we'd played a lot of music, Jules and I, and my brother and everybody, but we hadn't played those songs in that sort of new phase of what we were doing, and so. Yeah, it always feels like home for that reason. And then, of course, the more you come, the more you fall in love with the people, you get to know them, It's just such a good community, all the volunteers who come out and all the musicians, the local musicians, and, it's a good vibe, It feels real out here.
Totally. What would you say are some things that have stayed the same since that first Skyline experience, and what are some of the biggest changes?
Well, Dashville's definitely more popular now. It's grown in reputation, and I mean, Gumball had been going for a while, but specifically Dashville Skyline, obviously that was the first one back then, so now it's a much more renowned festival. When I'm on tour in Europe or wherever we go, there's people who've heard of Dashville Skyline, so it's a good...
That's so cool!
It's a good thing. But nothing really changes, and everything changes. People change in a way, like we grow and we get older and we learn new lessons, but then you're still the same. It still feels the same here as when I come out the first time.
Yeah. Wow. So you've had a pretty big year. You had a big trip over to Europe. Can you tell us a little bit about that, because it was your first Glasgow experience?
Yeah, it was Beans on Toast. Showed us around, and we stayed in his campsite, and what better way to experience Glasgow for the first time than with him. He's like the mayor of Glasgow. We walk around with him, people are coming up to him all the time and knows everybody at every stage, and he's a legend. So that was a wonderful intro, and we played some cool shows with good responses, and it's just good to play that historic festival. It's huge in scale to see that many people together,
it's mind-blowing.
All camping, and also not much violence,
Yeah,
I didn't see any violence or any, a lot of people having a good time and on all sorts of things, but no violence.
Yeah.
apparently that's changed. Apparently it used to be pretty wild.
Okay, all right. Well, it's good that it's calmed down. What's it like being overseas as an Aussie muso and playing to the audiences over there? Because they seem like we have really dedicated and passionate music lovers, but over there, just because everything's so condensed, it seems like a different vibe. Does it feel different, or like the music scene?
The music scene, I guess, is different. I mean, there's more of it, and there's more people. So it's a matter of scale, I guess. There's more people, so the more, you know, there's more people for different genres, and there's more festivals. There's just more. But people are people, and you know, for the people I play to, it's the story and the music. I play pretty much the same wherever I am, and just not the same show, but like the same intent. You know, like the same. We're just here to tell some stories and play some music, and it goes well. Like it's interesting telling songs about growing up in Australia, you know, in those countries, but we grew up with a lot of songs here about growing up in other countries. Yeah. And, you know, and the story comes through, you know, it's a human experience. So that's how I look at it, you know. Yeah, it might be bigger and shinier in some ways. I feel like Australia has a lot to do. Like we really need to forge more of our own storytelling because we have such a rich and diverse history. And the same can be said for the future, you know. So we have to tell those stories in music. I think a bit more. I think some of us can be a bit ashamed of who we are and what we do and what we sound like. But I think it's important to, you know, sing in your own voice and be. You don't necessarily have to be proud of everything that your nation's done. Yeah. But you can be proud of the ground you came from. You know, because it's a special place. Yeah.
It is.
It is, you know. And we define the nation, you know, like the people define it. Where it goes, what it does, like it's not set in stone. And I think that's what we're starting to realise is that, well, hang on, we can change things. So things are changing. And, you know, they've always changed. But, you know, I feel like we're at an interesting intersection where there's forces going in different ways, and we can be a bit too compartmentalised in our whatever. But I feel like we need to understand that we're all still one, you know, and we all still breathe the same air and drink the same water and all those cliches. But they're cliches for a reason, and that's because, you know, we're human and we're a part of this. Whatever this is, we're a part of it, you know. And so the nation is just a flag you wave and a team you go for and whatever. That's that side of it. But the nation itself is the people.
Yeah, absolutely. So last night, I believe you debuted a song. Was it the debut?
Yeah, it was.
Technically?
Yeah. Yes.
Or at least in some form. Yeah. Can you tell us about that song?
Well, it was the only one we rehearsed and the only one we fucked up. And so,
it's always the way.
Yeah, it was. But here is a comfortable space. So I'd only just written it. So we thought, we'll give it a crack, you know. And some of it worked and some of it needs work. Yeah. But it was. It
sounded very jammy last night. Like.
Yeah, by a matter of default, us trying to find where we were.
Okay.
But it is a jammy song. You know, you can most of the songs you can make them that way. Sometimes that's a mechanism for me to get comfortable. Just, all right, we'll extend this section so I can get in my head and figure out where we're going to go next. You know, because when you don't have a set list or when you're kind of flying by that way, it can be really cool and inspiring, but then you can also find yourself in the middle of a bloodbath, so you've got to swim out, but it's exciting, and that's why I do it, and, you know, for better or for worse.
Yeah. So when you have those moments on stage when, you know, everything isn't dotted out and lined up correctly, what are you feeling? Like, does it get scary, or do you put those moments into your show, like, to kind of push yourself more?
I don't know if it gets scary. It kind of, I try and just go with it without looking too stupid, you know, and that comes from just focusing on trying to get the vibe again, or conjure up what you were aiming at, you know. Stage can be, you know, you can go on there and have your set and be super tight and do the whole thing, and that's some people love that, and you know, that's a great way of doing things. But some elements of our show are a little bit more like that, but stuff that we try new things or whatever, you know, here especially you feel comfortable to do that. But it's also like, I want to try what works, what doesn't work, you know. If I just am sitting at home thinking about that, then I'm then putting myself in the audience's shoes a little bit too much. Whereas if I play the ideas, I can see the natural reactions. But then also you get to a time where you're not even showing anyone any ideas, you're just trying to swim through the bloodbath. But that's all right too. Usually it doesn't last too long, and you learn from it.
Yeah. I think some of the, you know, more wild moments that I've seen on stage that I've spoken to artists about afterwards, and they kind of go, oh, you know, that wasn't our greatest point. They felt like it was messy or whatever. But I think they're some of the most unique moments that I've ever seen watching live music.
Yeah, totally. And they're the bits you do it for, because it's like, you know, oh, fuck, this isn't working. Oh, well, you know, this might.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, I think we're all there. People who come to our shows know that about us when I'm in band mode, and you take the good with the bad. You know, not that it's bad, the good with the explorative.
Yes.
Which could be bad,
challenging.
Depends on what you think. But we're always putting 100% in, and always trying to conjure the spirit and be the best we can be. And you know, the last thing we want anyone to feel like we're just we'll never just phone it in, you know. If we want to go for it, we'll go for it. We want to try something new, we'll try something new. If it, like I say, if it fucks up, it fucks up. But you know, you get it right eventually. By the end of the song, it was sounding all right, you know.
It did. So that would have been a little tiny snapshot of what you're cooking up at the moment. You've been recording and making demos. Can you tell us about what's going on behind the scenes at the moment?
Just trying to write more music and figure out where I'm at. Like, I thought I had an album sort of done, and then I wrote a few more songs, and those songs resonated with me more than the ones I already had.
Yeah,
so
wow.
Just sort of keeping going down that path, and trying to become, you know, a better musician, trying to work on my playing, so that I can represent the song a bit better, and what I'm hearing in my head. Yeah, just working at it. And then I've got a bit more of a space at home now where I can do that.
Yeah, cool. Exciting.
Yep. So that's great. And just, you know, trying to work that out without any solid plan, or we're going to put the album out now, we're going to have this release schedule and that, which is all there, but it's a bit loose at the moment, which is good, because the next album, I feel like I want it to be, you know, how it should be.
This is probably a stupidly specific question, but when you say that, you know, you've written these songs that you're drawn to more than the others, would you say, can you kind of describe what's intriguing you at the moment or inspiring you?
I mean, there's always that element of new is best, so you've got to be careful of that, and be objective. But I feel like I'm just focusing more on the beauty in life, and the more of the power of that, and the power of the positivity in which we live in, because, you know, there's always you don't have to look very hard to find negative things, and I feel like we know them now. You know, there's enough. You know, I don't need to add my voice to that anymore. I mean, I will always stand up for those things, and I'm always that committed to that. But I'll always sing those songs until the issues, you know, until I die or until the issue's resolved. But I just find it gives me more power at the moment to sing and focus on the beauty and the you know, just the wonder of life and the beauty of life and the interactions and the positivity, because if you focus on the other stuff too much, it consumes you, and then all you're doing is whinging and complaining. And there's something in calling out, there's something in with your country. I do not understand why we're still ripping down the native forest. That is insane. So I'll always stand up for that and always sing that song and be there, but singing about the beauty of the forest and the power of the bush and the fact that we are all part of it, whether in the middle of the city or here, is giving me the inspiration at the moment and making me feel more connected.
Beautiful. All right, well, it's been awesome to get to spend some time with you. Thanks so much for chatting, and I can't wait to hear some new music.
Thanks, Bonnie. Always good to yarn.